It's time for another episode of AgNerds on RealAgriculture.com, and as always, joined by the infamous Peter Gredig. Pete, how's it going?
Good to be here, Shaun. Welcome to Ontario.
Yeah,
finally made it out here.
Not over the phone. We are in person, live and in studio in a boardroom at the Bridgetown campus.
It's nice and beige.
And you hear another voice there. That is Mike Cowbrough from AFRA. How are you doing?
I'm well. Now that we're done our 3 sessions on ag apps, it's good to be done. What
was the response like? You guys get good crowds? Did people leave halfway through, or did they stay to the end?
No, we had great audiences. It's interesting how this has evolved over the last few years, because Mike and I have been doing these app sessions, and I think sometimes we think, well, everyone knows mobile devices, they know apps. But it's evolving, right? And I think that's kind of what you wanted to talk about is where are we at with ag apps versus where we started and where are we going with them?
Yeah, so let's go to the where were we? Okay, so today presentation at SWAC versus the same similar type topic 3 years ago. What's the difference?
Well, the challenge then was where are they? Like, why aren't there more ag apps? Why isn't there a record-keeping app for cropping? Why isn't there a beef herd management app? Why? Now they exist, and the challenge is finding them and sorting through them to figure out which one is actually the best one for you.
You didn't mention the thing that probably is the most prominent in the difference, which is no one's using BlackBerry anymore.
Well, that's true. Although, when we surveyed the crowd, it was definitely an Apple audience, and then Android a close second. But there was surprisingly, a quarter BlackBerry 10 users. And all of them had multiple devices. Like, that was clear. Like, you asked who has they have an Apple tablet and an Android phone. Right. Is certainly what I got out of that. But going back to early apps, right? Like the first apps were really just pretty simple stuff, right? Like, it was more or less in many cases glorified fact sheets, or here's a picture of this. Like,
maybe a logo.
They didn't do much, right? Now we have apps that do things, right? Like, that help break down complex concepts and data.
So we still do have, just like the regular commercial market, we have a lot of apps that really do a function, but we also have a lot of ag apps that are still really are maybe a marketing piece as opposed to being functional.
Right, and I think those early apps have kind of come and gone. And if you're looking now to get that screen landscape for a company, or I think the expectations are now higher, that it actually do something. So, a seed guide selection app needs to be a good tool. It has to be better than the alternative, the old seed catalog. We're seeing fewer of the just kind of, I call them novelty apps, and more of the deeper applications.
Do you want us to show you how innovative in marketing we are? We have an app.
RealAgriculture?
Oh, we do too, yes. Yeah, very, very innovative. So, Mike, when you look at the crowd today, how high is that expectation from the crowd in terms of what they're looking for?
I would say the expectations are higher in terms of, an app has to have value, and it has to make their decision making simpler. It's an efficiency tool, and I guess that resonated for me more so today when there was more discussion around how do I share this? Can I share this with colleagues? Can we all have the same data on different devices but using the same app? And so a lot more talk about integration, whereas before people were just happy to have something. Now it's, well, I got this, that's nice, now I want to be able to utilize it more. So that came loud and clear. And always I think farmers in particular are always looking for record-keeping apps that have that functionality of not only storing data, but then being able to share it, export it, like do multiple things and not just one thing. So more dynamic apps is clearly what I see, I guess.
Yeah, I think Mike's right. And Mike and I have worked together on some apps, and I guess 2 things. One is you can code or program the best app ever, but it's like your world, Shaun, it's all about content. So there's a lot of, let's say, weed control apps that basically just blast a PDF of a label. So on your smartphone you have this micro font PDF of a 12-page label.
Sounds exciting.
Yeah, and how valuable is that? It works, but Mike's app, Pest Manager, kind of goes beyond the label, and we're trying to deliver something that's a little more what the farmer's looking for.
Well, there is that fine line still, and whether it's apps or it is basically desktop or laptop software, is that fine line between meeting that desired complexity and tools and functions, but completely ruining the user experience.
Right. Yeah. Overkill, you're saying.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, that's and I mean, again, today, Pest Manager, it's for corn, soybeans, wheat, weeds, diseases, insects. And so we get the question, what about hort? What about edible beans? What about forages? So you end up with this, expanding piece of software that actually starts to get slower and slower and slower. So, yeah, you're right. Where do you stop? Keep it simple, quick delivery, boom.
Yeah, I think we're at the stage with that particular app where it is what it is, because that's my fear as well. Like right now, it's a very simple, user friendly. It doesn't burn a lot of calories figuring it out. The more you add, then the experience isn't as nice, and we want to avoid that for sure.
Yeah, I think the other thing that farmers, if you're building, say, for a geography like Ontario or for Canada, you're building for a specific audience with specific regulatory issues for products, etc. You build them, and then in a lot of cases you wait for the feedback. And sometimes I think farmers aren't aware of how apps are an evolving animal. So if they load an app, Pest Manager, for example, or another one that Mike's built is Cash Cropper, you build it and you say, I really like that, but I wish it did X, Y, Z. If we get that feedback, there's a pretty good chance that that's where it'll go. It isn't like Microsoft 8 where, you take it or leave it.
You're stuck with it.
Yeah, this is it, learn it, or live without it. So, because we have to update that app the next time the operating system changes anyway. So if we can tweak it, so farmers shouldn't underestimate the influence they can have on those apps.
Yeah.
Right, because for me, there's only so much. It's pretty simple. No one's using it. I don't hear any feedback. Guess what's not getting any more investment?
Right.
And what's probably going to die, right? So the feedback is super critical.
Oh, I bet you the percentage of people that load an app onto their phone or their tablet, use it once, don't like the interface, doesn't do a function they're looking for, and just delete it.
Yeah.
Instead of providing some.
Well, it's cutthroat, because so the pressure to get some value right out of the gate, and so I think that's why you try and stay fairly simple and then add value. But yeah, if it's clunky, if it doesn't work, if it doesn't deliver what it's supposed to deliver, it's either gas it or on to the next one. So and the other thing that we've learned in the last 4 years is you can build a great app, but promotion is a big part of it. It isn't, if you build it, they'll come. Build it, promote it, explain it. You got to sell it.
Whether you're Android or BlackBerry or Apple, the store is so full of different products and apps that it's not just you relying on the search.
Right.
Right? Especially it applies to some keywords in ag that may apply in the commercial market as well, such as farm.
Yeah, it's word of mouth, I think, more so than anything else, right? Like it's tough. You would think it's actually easy to find agriculture apps. It's not that easy at all,
No.
right? And to your point, you do a search of agriculture apps on the Google Play Store, and you're probably going to get more, Farmville type games than actually applied apps.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I have to give credit to Grain Farmers of Ontario, this idea of a portal app.
Right.
So they built an app called Farm Central, which is cool because all the apps that have been generated by Mike and through OMAFRA and Grain Farmers of Ontario, you can access them from one spot. So I think we're going to see more of that. So if you're a company that has 3 or 4 different utility apps, they'll all be in one spot instead of having to have a separate icon for every app. So I see that as a trend as well.
I kind of wish the Globe and Mail would do that. They have a whole bundle of different apps. You're like, okay, what do any of these do? You have to download them all to try to figure out actually what you're looking for. So I wish more people would take that sort of strategy.
But I mean, like, let's be blunt. How many apps do you actually use? Just a personal question, right? Like, what's your favorite app?
We're getting quite personal here.
Sorry. Aside from Tinder, what's your favorite app?
Careful now. Well, my favorite app is probably Bleacher Report.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it's a good app. Mm-hmm. What's yours, Pete?
Probably Twitter. Still, I mean, I know it's people don't think of it as an app, but it's probably the one that I use the most on a daily basis. But beyond that, it's probably media delivery apps. Yeah, they aren't ag-specific apps. Evernote I use almost every day.
Really? You're still hanging on Evernote?
I love the Evernote.
Huh.
Yeah.
It is kind of 3 years ago, but why do you like it so much?
It's just so easy to use. And it's cloud-based, so I can't lose it. I can use audio, I can do pictures, I can type.
Integrates with your desktop you love so much?
Integrates with my desktop and any other device, so yeah.
Gotta have the desktop.
Yeah.
Well,
allegedly.
I think I still have a desktop.
Yeah. You think you do?
Haven't been there lately.
It's covered in like clothes you should have folded?
Yeah, it's like the exercise machine.
They're both good. They're both good closets on the stationary open closets. Mike, what's your favorite app?
Netflix. I know that isn't even an app, but yeah, like surprisingly for a person that likes the task of simplifying things and making tools, I use very few apps for the same on a daily basis, right? Like there's plenty I'll use once in a blue moon, but in terms of something that I'll use very regularly, it's I cut the cord, right? And I'm a Netflix watcher.
No cable at all.
Build my own antenna.
Bought some tinfoil.
Watching lots of Steve Paikin, Quagmire, as I like to call him. But anyway,
no satellite, no cable.
No satellite. Yeah.
It's the other thing that's kind of unique about ag apps, at least in the crop world, is that you put all this energy into building them, and because of their seasonal nature, they really are used intensely for this tiny
maybe three times.
Maybe 3 times. You know, some of the product support apps that we talked about today, like a planter setting app. Literally, you might use that in total 5 minutes a year. Really valuable. Glad I have it. Great. One of my favorite apps, but it's not something you think of as your favorite app because you just use it once a year for a few minutes.
And you probably have to remind yourself every year that you even have it, right? So that becomes the other challenge, is that very few of these get used a lot. So if you're a company developing into it for product promotion, whatever, you have to make the investment annually to re-educate or re-notify that it's even on your phone in the first place, right? If you want it to be used.
Yeah, so like on my phone, I have a folder that's, I put apps into different folders. So like I have an agriculture folder, sort of to remind myself what I have to sort of go in there once in a while and look what's in there. But it's a nice way to sort of remind yourself what you actually have, especially even from a news app perspective. Like there's just so many. A lot of times it's like, man, I haven't opened that app forever. For sure. Delete, right? As my phone's alerting me I'm full.
Yes, I have quite a few that I never open.
Yeah.
What are you going to do?
Right. So in terms of the next step, so we've gone from, hey, we have very few, now we've got quite, we have a large number. We've heard about some of the demands in terms of integration and multi-use. Where do we see it evolving to?
I see more just as a base requirement now that results or data should be exportable to something functional like a CSV file or an Excel compatible file. So anything I do in an app that involves keeping track of a record or it spits out a result, nitrogen calculator or any app, it's now sort of a prerequisite that you be able to export the data into a flexible format, generally Excel. I think that's sort of the standard now.
Okay, Mike, what do you sort of see?
I'm on the same path as Peter. And to be blunt, not to railroad the conversation, but I just keep thinking about today. How fun was that? There's a kid in our audience, couldn't have been more than 10 years old. I feel maybe he's 12, right?
He was, but he knew more than any of us.
Right. So we're having problems with the projector.
You boys are old.
We're having problems with the projector at the beginning. He comes up and says, "Hey, old man, see, it's not an input 2, right?"
Did he kick you in the shins?
But he asked 2 really good questions. He was into it, right? So where it's going, I thought he had an interesting question right around, like, we were talking about pest manager, and he's like, wouldn't it be cool, or have you thought about then allowing an area where you curate farmer feedback, right? Like, oh, I tried that treatment, I liked it. Almost like a Yelp, I suppose, for pesticides. I don't know. You kind of poo-pooed it. You said that's what Twitter's for. Is that the next level? Is not only a tool that helps make decisions, but then also provides like that word of mouth feedback, or is that just is that the comment section of the Globe and Mail to tricky? How do you manage that?
It is a generational thing. Like, let's face it, like we're all involved here in conveying information to farmers, and a lot of times it's a broadcasting function, right? Mm-hmm. One way. That kid is saying, why would it be one way? Why don't we crowdsource on this? Why don't we open this up? And it's just because he's of that generation. But it's exactly where it should go. Yeah,
like as a heavy user of TripAdvisor for hotels, restaurants, those kind of things, you have to be very, very careful. Because a lot of times if you take a lot of the reviews or the comments or things at face value, you can misguide yourself, right? Hey, this hotel is only a 3 out of 5, and then you stay there, and it's like, man, there's no way that's a 3. It's either a 2 or it's a 4.5.
You have no idea what the barometer is, and also, like, I find I get paralyzed, right? Because you always find one negative comment, so you get fixated on that, right?
Yeah.
Right.
The one thing I like that it does is you can see this in an agriculture operation, is like the filters, right? So if I'm staying on business, hey, I'll put the business filter on to sort of see, hey, how good was the Wi-Fi? What was the fitness room like that I probably will aspire to attend, but it won't quite get there because I'll stay out too late and drinking pints of beer. But the context is so important that's the part that sort of bothers me, that maybe doesn't bother this bright kid.
Gredig did shut him down pretty quickly on his last question, though. He asked us if we were going to develop for the Microsoft platform.
Cheapers.
It was a pretty quick no.
Really? You jumped ahead.
You didn't even humor him.
Really?
It was harsh.
Yeah.
Old man Gredig teaching lessons today.
Yeah. So we didn't want to mislead the youth of today, right?
Did he have a Microsoft phone?
I don't know.
I feel like he had everything.
Yeah.
He probably had an Atari 2600. Let's be honest.
Yeah. When I was in Germany for Agritechnica, you saw a lot of Microsoft phones.
I thought we'd see more because they make a lot of sense, but just no market share. So
I cannot remember which company it is in Canada. There is an egg company where that is multinational, that the company decided the whole company was going with Microsoft phones, and the guy was just bitter because there's basically like no apps, and basically it was essentially a contact database with a calendar and a phone. I can't remember which company it was.
Was it Research in Motion?
Sorry.
Too soon.
Okay, guys. Well, this has been a great discussion on ag apps. Thanks for joining us. Enjoy the rest of the SWAC, Mike.
Will do.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah, we're day 2.
Yeah,
almost
dig into
over.
it. Yeah. Production pundits. Looking forward.
Yeah, for sure. Real Ag's own Peter Johnson and the notorious Pat Lynch, and moderated by I feel sorry for you, Pete.
That's a fun job.
Try to keep those two in control.
Cage match.
Yes. Or the ladder match. My kids look more forward to the ladder matches than the cage matches on WWE. Okay, thanks a lot, everybody.
Okay,
cheers.
Thanks, Shaun.